Daddy, tell us about Uncle Keno and Uncle Tootsie. You know, what were they like when they were growing up? And
Well, they went fishing all the time.
I just wondered what he's going to say first.
They played marbles. Played marbles.
Oh, yeah, they go up there to Livermore, and there's the best barber shops there was in Livermore. Frank Smith would go out there, they played right in front of, on the railroad track there, right in front of Frank Smith's drugstore, and he'd go out there and he'd tell me how them boys could shoot them marbles.
how much
They
younger?
come home with, Mama didn't like for them to play keep, but they come home with a pocket full of marbles all the time, where they went off them boys out of Livermore.
Well, I tell you, I bet you Uncle Tootsie had his tongue out like this, whatever.
How did Keno come up with that name?
Well, there was a boy, a Sprayles boy lived there at my house, and his name was Leo. They called him Keno. We got to call him Keno. That boy's a whole lot older than him, though. They called that boy Keno.
The boy here in Livermore.
No,
No,
over
that's
Dave's.
what they.
Boy in Dave's County.
Yeah, where Keno's called that ever since he was little, you know.
Or was it they called Tootsie because he was little and Uncle Booster because he was big, or what?
I don't know how. I think it's one of them Epsons, Roy Epson. Got to call him Booster.
Well, see, and Uncle Booster, the family, he was chubby all his life. And
Fatty.
some of them called him Fatty.
Oh,
And
okay.
most all of us didn't do that. But Aunt
Aunt
Rosie
Rosie did.
never called him nothing else, hardly, but
Yes,
Fatty.
she did.
Well, Sally used to call him Fatty, too.
Sure enough,
She did.
but I just remember Aunt Rosie.
Well, when I saw him the first time, he's about 18 years old, I guess. It was the same time that Joe saw me on the way, when he's hauling coal. We lived there at Livermore, and he came up there to see Mr. Biggers that was drilling a well for us, to see him about drilling the well or something.
No,
he-
it's testing
coal
for
bank.
coal.
Yeah, drilled a test for coal. And I thought, that's the fattest boy I ever saw. He just pink fat. Looked at me like you just stick a finger to him. He was the tenderest, fattest looking person I ever saw. I can just see him right there.
But none of the other children were fat, were they?
No, Tootsie's kind of chubby. But George Rudy over there, he's a neighbor lived there, and Tootsie was always short, and he was always kind of jolly, you know, and everything. He just fell in love with Tootsie. He had a farm. He lived above between us and Owensburg, but next farm above us. And he had a farm down below, and Rudy ride his little horse up and down. Tootsie'd be out there on the road messing around out there, and he'd holler at Tootsie all the time. And when we got ready to move out here, we had a bank mule that kind of got stove up something. It wasn't too old, but he told Tootsie he's going to give him that mule. And so we got ready to move over, or about ready. Tootsie went up there to get the mule. And Rudy's boy there, he was about kind of loony-like. And he went out there at the stable and got a mule, and just a red mule, and he had some more red bank mules, you know. And he went out there and got a mule that didn't come out of mine. Come leading that mule home, and Pep was out there at the road. Well, he had a barn right across the road there, and seen him leading that mule. Looked at it, seen that mule had harness marks on it, sweaty where it just been, the harness just come off of it. And noticed it wasn't even that other mule, and Tootsie gonna get, wasn't been work for a last more while. So he sent the mule back up there, and Tootsie come home, he couldn't get the mule. Mr. Drews told him, said, that mule was yours, said, come on up there and get the mule. And a day or two, he went up there and he got the mule then, what he's supposed to got.
Did you bring it out here?
Yeah.
Fine, every year sending back.
We had 5 horses, work horses then, and we put that mule in to make the 6th horse. So we have a 4-horse team and a 2-horse team. These wagons before we moved out here.
And you all actually got some good out of the little mule.
Yeah, and then the coal mine head over there, the Epsons was running it first, and Pep didn't like the way they was doing it. It seemed like it wasn't getting the coal out. Vern Stern was working for the Epsons, and Booster and Dern bought the Epsons out the coal mine. And the Epsons kept one mule and let them have one little mule to go back on on the 4-foot coal, but this mule, what Tootsie got, was big enough to pull the coal on out of it. So they used that coal mule to pull coal with it on out on the tip. She pulled that coal good. And about 2 years in, Booster and them went and sold out to Dan Hall and moved them out of it. Well, Booster and Dern opened them out up there, but it was so steep they couldn't pull the coal out. They put a gin ring out there with a horse, a drum, and this whole thing went over there in the yard. So the horse could turn around and wouldn't have to unhook it and let the horse go back down the mine.
And that mine was right around the hill here, wasn't it?
Yeah, right over the hill here. And so they didn't have no more use for a mule, and Hard Whitaker had some sheep. Pep went down there and looked at these sheep. We already had some, just want to buy some more. Had them down in Rumsey. So I went down there and Tootsie decided that he would bought that mule no more, so Hard gave him 5 sheep for that mule. And well, the sheep was about $10, but $50 for the mule. And so me and Brewster went down on a wagon. We had 2 wagons. Oh, it was 2 wagon loads of sheep. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 lambs that done had. Some of the rest of them want to have lambs. Put them in them wagons and we crossed the ferry there at I'm at Calhoun over in Rumsey, got them sheep, brought them home.
Where was the first mine that the Epsons running to?
It was right over here where this water's running out.
Okay.
The other was on the holler flood, and the next holler.
Didn't they have 2 openings up there at one time? One that went more to the
Well,
west and one
One
kind of
opening,
forked?
one
there.
opening right here, just the other side where Brady's
Yeah.
house is, where they had the air shack.
But up
Then
at the
down
other
the holler,
hall.
them opened one right here. Well, they had 2 openings here.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean,
Maybe.
Dr. Booster and them run. Was it one opening up there at the head of that holler or 2 at
You
one
know,
time?
one up towards that little barn up on the hill of what, Bob Whitaker, Williams on, Nanny Sue.
Nanny Sue. One went that way and one went west, didn't it? Or was it just one there?
Well, it's this right here, Brad's, it come right straight back over the hill
Okay.
here. And they left to ride some more little coal up over here. And Dan and them found out about it. They opened this one right here, run in a while, and then it had an air shaft right over here, a little bit further. Went over and went in that air shaft and put the tip over there and run coal out of it right. They run that about 3 years. And they finally sold it to this boy, the coal boy over here in Douglas.
That's the last one that was running.
Yeah.
Somebody opened the door for you, Linda?
And then, see, the Dutchman's, meanwhile, over close to me, you know. I had 2 over there. And then, both Dutchman's out. Well, Leyland Waiting bought them first, and then he bought Leyland Whalen out. And they run that last one over there, and then they quit that, and they come over here and open this one up, and then open this other one up. 2.
Where did he serve?
He was in the infantry.
And that's
Right
where he
on the front
received
line.
his hearing,
Hmm?
is that where he received his hearing problem?
No, he already had a hearing problem.
It was worse.
Didn't
They
matter
took
worse.
him into the military
Made it
even with
worse.
it?
But shells did burst close to him and made his hearing much worse.
See, he went over, he was over in Germany, and when the war was over, but you see, when the United States whooped Germany, well, the Japs come in on them, they're fighting the Japs. And this here, Gippy Taylor over here at Buell, Dodge Taylor's brother, was over with Tootsie, and Mom died in the meantime while the Tootsie was over there. And then they got the Red Cross and sent a letter over and everything to let Tootsie know he never heard a thing about it. And Gippy Taylor got a letter, and somebody had said something to him about it. And they didn't cut out his letter. So Tootsie found out from Gippy that Mom was dead.
Oh, how awful. And did he come home early?
He didn't come home. But anyway, Tootsie was when the war was over, well, he is supposed to come in. But anyway, Gippy was moved out down to fighting the Japs. And Tootsie's hearing so bad, they left him over, and he stayed over 6 months or maybe a year afterwards.
That was when he went to
got
cooking, wasn't it?
cooking over for him all the time. And he said that the little German boys would be running around there thick, where they're cooking at, and they wasn't supposed to give them nothing to eat. He said he'd kind of make a mess of a cake and give them German boys a cake. But he'd make a mess on purpose so he'd get to feed them German kids.
But
cake.
one time, Tootsie was going right toward the enemy. Didn't know it. He couldn't hear who was it stopped him, but anyway, he almost went into the enemy lines because he couldn't hear
He couldn't tell the Germans
sound or
guns from
something.
the other guns.
And he ultimately got in with the company that the captain was from right out here at Buck Creek.
Eubanks.
Eubanks. And Ewell, I think maybe Daddy's told this, and you can go ahead and tell it if you want to, Dad.
Well, Eubanks, Ewell was a captain, or,
Yeah, he was.
colonel or something. But anyway, he got in his company, and he would come up there and go and shake his hand. Ewell told him, "You get away from me. I don't know you." And Ewell got around and then told him. He says, "You cuss me out just like you would with any other officer." Says, "Make out like you don't know." Says that they found out you know me. Says I'm going to give you a break. And he said, they found out you know me. He says they'll send you away from here. They won't send you. They won't let me be around you. And so you wouldn't kind of give him a break, although he wouldn't be right up in front like it's. And it's hard. Right before they sent him overseas, well, his hearing got worse, and he told the captain about it. He says, "Oh, you are what they call it
Kind of.
Draft dodger or something.
No, when they go to get on a boat.
Afraid.
A walkway, what they call that?
Yeah.
Gangplank. We don't get on that part. That's what's wrong with you. And
Gangplank fright.
Tootsie said, "Well, if you don't want to go out," but he really wanted to go. That's the reason why he wanted to go, be going somewhere. That's the reason why he joined the Army.
Oh, he joined.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember how
He
he and
volunteered.
Keno used to go to Kansas and
No, him and Leo.
When he was,
oh, I thought Keno went
No,
too
no.
out there.
well, he did it later. He was 16 years old. Leo Walker over here wanted to go to, well, we was married, but I guess he was a little older. Don't see me like he's already out there and we married. But anyway, he helped it, wanted to go, but he wanted to go. So he went to Kansas and stayed 1 year out there and worked out there in wheat harvest.
They went in time for wheat harvest, then they just stayed on.
Stayed on there. People, and these old people out there really thought a lot of Tootsie.
And didn't they ride the freight trains, junk trains?
Well, that was later. They paid for way. Anyway, when they got ready to come home out there, well, they was going to bring them into the train, and this guy said, "Looked like the storm blowing up." Said, "You boys better stay all night." Says, "I'm afraid they had to go about 50 miles, seemed like to get the train." And he had an old car or something that's going to bring the train. Said, "Your bills better stay here." And they had a milk house out there they sleeping in. And next morning, they couldn't even get the door open to the milk house. And people had to come out there and dig the snow away before they could get out of that house. And they had to stay there in about a week. They couldn't come off the blizzard there was, and that was the 1st of March. And,
What year was that? Do you have any idea?
Could that be the same March that we married? It was a blizzard here. Could
Well,
that?
I don't know. But anyway, they got looking around out there, and these people had a lot of cattle. And of course, nearly all their cattle dead. They said that they go to a fence, and then just stop there, and well, it seemed like it's 2 or 3. They keep their backs to the wind, and they tramped down maybe 2 or 3 fences, and then they found them in a fence where they were standing up, froze to death.
That was near, and Tootsie and them stayed near Hayes, Kansas, wasn't it?
Yeah,
He stayed in Leota once, I remember too.
and he went back out there several different
I
times.
was just curious about that year.
He hoboed and went out there and went on over in Colorado on the western slopes and worked in the tater fields where they raised a lot of these potatoes and put them potatoes in these cellars to keep them from freezing. They actually dug them before they could ship them out to be sold, you know. And he was coming in out there one time and he had a bag with him, or maybe it's a cap or something. And he was a hobo grabbed his cap and Tootsie started out laughing. And another guy told him, says, "You better stay right here and hold your bag." Says, "Let that old cap go." And he come in and didn't even have no cap on. He said, "They'll get that bag."
That was when he's hoboing, hitchhiking.
And I believe it was Keno, though, was doing the same thing. Keno come in home there one time, and he'd got lice on him. And he come in and told Mom, he says, "I wash my clothes." And he says, "I'm going out here in this outfit and change clothes, and I'm not bringing his clothes in there in the house." And he went out there and took a bath in that outfit, so he get rid of them lice, so he wouldn't bring them in the house.
I think you can do
First
that.
of March or last of February.
Isn't that all of it?
A lot of times it's not warm enough weather to go ahead and bring them on up.
He
But
just,
that
he's got an
particular year,
autopilot now, it takes care of
the
it.
weather stayed warm and they come right on up.
Oh, tires you to death, don't
Yeah,
it?
that thing there got hard.
Also, you didn't tell us anything about how early, why you went to school early. You went when you were 4 years old, didn't you? Because
5.
Five years old.
5. Because Booster wouldn't go
Yeah.
without you.
See, Ella Kurz, that was cousin. That's called school over there, Edge Valley School. And that was his little brother, I guess, where we went to school. And he went over, and then there's some boys went right over the hill from us, over there, and he'd go with them. And then when she quit teaching over there, well, Mom wanted to go with her. And I was 5 years old then. I went over with half over, but had a pasture field, went through all the way over, almost got to the schoolhouse. And there's a little strip of cornfield, and had to go across the ditch there, and went over an old rail fence, and then through a Walmart fence. After he fixes the place so we get to the wraps and centers on the pot wire, so we wouldn't tear our clothes get through that Walmart fence. And took a sows over corn, put weeds along so we could get to the edge of it, and we had to cross it in there. And I know, first day I went to school, I had a little old cape put on my shoulders, a little bit cool, you know, in the morning. Mom told me, she says, don't wear this in school, said take it off when you get to schoolhouse. And here are some of these girls that live with our neighbors. Well, they didn't know me, they wanted to play with me, make over me. And they come out there and want me to go on to school, and I was trying to get this thing off. They was almost dragged me into school. And I thought I was supposed to take that thing off on the outside of the schoolhouse.
Oh, she just meant don't wear it while you're in school.
Right.
How come you got married in the Meyer house?
Well, see,
Priest would stay there.
priest he was come from Central City over there, or Browns Valley, one or the other, and they had there's two priests at Browns Valley, or it might not have been the one, it might have been one in Central City then. Anyway, he took care of them more in Central City, and he'd come over to our house on Saturday night, and then leave on a train after we'd have mass on Sunday morning, going back to Central City. And so he was there, and when a Protestant married a Catholic married a Protestant, that wasn't supposed to be married in the church, supposed to be married in a house somewhere, you know.
Out in the yard or just anywhere.
It wasn't good enough to get in the church.
Right.
So that day was going to get married. Well, they had on a Friday before we got married on Saturday night. We went to Owensburg to get the license. And Dee went over there with us so she could sign papers for Anna Pearl. She wasn't old enough to get married yet. And
Didn't have to be a parent, just had to be somebody.
so, you know,
Somebody responsible.
and so it poured down rain that day, and she went in a place where she's going to get her hair all fixed, you know, get married. Me and Dee sat out there and waited for her to get her hair fixed. So you think it was the rain or something, and her just come out and didn't look no better than she did before anything.
You didn't tell her that though, did you?
There was a sale up there where Tommy Lee owns a place right on the other side where Old Buck Creek was, where John Pollard used to live. And I went up there at that sale, and of course I was buying stuff to go to housekeeping on that sale that morning. Bought a rolling pin, a dish pan, and a
Important stuff to cook with.
You got a barrel of stuff, and the rolling pin was in the barrel.
Get the necessities of life.
But the rest of it was harnesses for the horse or something.
I don't know whether I walked up there, I went horseback or what, but I had to come home then and get my team in the wagon and go up there and pick up
You
that
just
stuff.
barely did get down there.
Top of the wedding.
Well, you stopped a little more to get a haircut.
I started to live more in the old
What
car
time of day
and had
was it?
chains on the
7:30.
car. It's muddy, and before I got out the lane there, one of the chains come off, so I went back to the house there, and Keno went with me then to kind of help me get the, so if I had any more trouble,
Of course,
I
Rosie
had my
was
good
with
clothes
you.
on, so he,
Rosie was.
and
Rosie's still.
so we went on a little more then, and did I get a haircut?
Yes, sir.
Who cut your hair?
Huh?
Who was the barber there?
Raleigh.
Raleigh Owen.
Raleigh Owen, okay.
And so went on down and got her and took her up to Mars's house. You know, he stood out there in the old car, pretty cold too. Oh, we got married. They went down and we took in a show that night to Livermore.
Oh, we had a hamburger first.
What happened to Aunt Rosie and Keno? What happened to Rosie and Keno?
Rosie and Keno was with us. We went that, it was a bus stop or whatever down there.
Kokomo's?
Yeah, I guess it was.
Did the Athertons run that then?
I believe,
I don't know who was
W.
that.
Bringle Atherton run that, you know.
yeah,
a long
but
time.
it was before Bringle had
Before
it.
Bringle got it?
It was a
Anyway,
Buck
we had a
Hoover.
hamburger.
Buck
I don't know
Hoover
what we
run.
had to drink.
See, Buck's the one built that place.
Well, that's
It
probably
used
what
to be
it
an
was.
old
And then we went on
restaurant.
to
They
the
built
show.
that brick restaurant.
What'd you see?
I don't know. Joe asked me a while back, what did you ask me, was it the Shirley Temple or something? It wasn't, it was an old silly light show. Only thing I can remember about it, it was a silent movie, of course. This old man was the main character, was wanting him to think there's a lot of people listening and clapping, cheering for him, you know. He had a paddle, he'd turn it like this, hit on something sound like people cheering. And that's about all I can remember about the movie.
Did Ike Charlotte on the theater then? What was your Catholic friends? You would have had no marriage and no entertainment or anything, would you?
What?
Oh, yes.
You wouldn't have the show house, you mean?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the show house?
Well, then did you all come back then?
Down over to the show.
Charlotte runs the show.
Oh, you went back to Shultz's.
And
Right.
the big front room, you remember?
Was that old man? Was that the old man KJ
And
or?
the chimney was
Yeah,
bad.
young
man,
KJ.
you man, KJ.
Well, how old was those boys then?
Well, KJ's 2 years younger than me.
KJ.
See, I knew they were pretty big.
Kay was, we talked about it when I got to our 50th resident, but Kay said he didn't believe he was there, he believed he was off to going to school, college.
Why didn't Keno stand up with you since he was up there?
You wouldn't have got Keno in there.
Close to a wedding, huh?
Did well to get him in the car.
You could go to the pool room, but he wouldn't go there.
Anyway, that front room over there, they never built a fire in it. And we talked about it so much. Chimney was bad. That was the coldest bed I ever got in.
That's
It was really
So
turned cold.
And you
No
had your
fire.
bed in that, in what we call the front room, where we
Uh-huh.
had the Davenport later. Oh.
On the east
And
side of the
see,
house on the
whenever
bottom?
I remember anything,
Or upstairs?
the bed,
On the east side.
your bed as well as mine was in that other room.
Oh, honey, I'm talking about Shultz house, the big.
Okay.
The old big house,
Stay
first.
there, you?
Yeah, the folks hadn't moved out of our house.
Okay.
Oh, I thought
How long was that?
No, they hadn't moved out.
How long was it until they moved out and you moved over?
Well, they moved on Monday.
And the front room you're talking about is one on the left as you go in the front door.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, that was cold up.
Oh,
See, the ceilings were just about as high as that, up yonder.
Well, not quite, but
Didn't know Ridenours just lived down the street, didn't you? Or was they back on the
no,
farm?
he's down.
Yeah, they're back on the farm then.
Then we went down there the next.
So you lived where Luther Stevens lived, didn't you? I was thinking you lived on
We
the
lived
main
where
street.
Hazel Harson's place is. Dad thought that it wasn't even finished. That's how coming to buy it. Somebody started it and couldn't finish it. And Dad thought he'd buy it, and he was a carpenter, and he'd refinish it and sell it, make some money off of it, but he didn't.
I don't know where her place is.
Up in Sue Quigg, just north of Sue, that first house.
First house had behind Sue Quigg's, across from the funeral home.
Oh,
You know,
Hazel Horse lives there now.
No, honey, she hadn't lived there for a long time, but
yeah. I
she
don't
gave it to her boys or sold it
all
to
these years, I never did know what house y'all lived in.
You didn't. Well, we
I thought it
lived
was
there
right
all
on
night.
down the street.
I thought you lived there where Stevens lived.
Well, I used to think it was on the schoolhouse street or, down
That's
that
what
way.
I thought, eh?
You mean where Granddad's house was?
Well, now,
No,
you're talking about the
the
Stevens
house in
place,
front of
see,
the
Roy
street in
Allen
front of the
lived
schoolhouse.
there.
See, Granddad's house was
Bradley.
by
On
the
that
church.
That might have been what I remember.
That's
The
not the
second house
schoolhouse
down
street.
from
Well,
the
there's a
school
street
now?
there behind the schoolhouse where Granddad
No,
lived and lived.
no, it was
He
down
was the
there.
last house. He had
Oh,
rolled
yeah.
out.
Two
I
blocks
remember that.
down.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I thought you
Oh,
meant.
okay,
No
no,
street.
they didn't live there.
No, I thought they lived down
Yeah, I know when he
town
lived there next to school.
from the schoolhouse.
And
Well,
I
he
was,
lived-
I was
Shultz
11
house
when we moved up
Granddad
there.
Shultz owned the house that,
Remember that, because you went to this one-room schoolhouse, that you learned all the other lessons the other kids were learning too. Was that you, whenever you were going to school?
I don't believe it was, because he didn't even get it, well, he did get the multiplication table, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
For the other kids learning it.
No, that was Tootsie.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Of course, I had such a time learning, and me and Sis was in the same grade, and of course, I'd go with them multiplication tables at home. Mama said, he learned them as we was learning.
Uh-huh.
So this teacher, she just up and put Tootsie in our arithmetic class, and he learned his multiplication table, and he's about 3 grades under us, but he learned his multiplication table than we did.
I thought it was somebody that
So you still got it?
And then, you only went, 3 years or 4, no, how long did you go to school? 5 years?
I was in the 7th grade,
Oh, 7 years.
and might have been 8. I was 14. I was 14 years old when I went to school.
Yeah, so
I didn't realize you went that far.
you didn't go to school after you came out here though, did you?
No, but see, I went the year before. That's the spring, and then that
you was 15 in February after
I
you
never
got
did
out
start. We was going to move out here that year. I never did start. And next year then, Papa wanted me to go, and Mom said, if you don't want to go, you don't have to. And I didn't want to go. I wanted to raise work.
Well, and how old were you when you started hauling coal in Tootsie? Or Keno, or Booster, you and Booster?
Well, I was 14 years old, and so
I had 2, I had one before that.
See, Joe, weren't you 15 in February after you
Yeah,
moved
well,
to
he
December?
my
That's what I
parents.
told him the other day.
Well, tell us about how, when Granddad used to take off to tobacco and he'd get a stock of bananas, and the time that Tootsie got a hold of him.
Tootsie, it was Joe.
Was you?
Had 2 in each pocket.
No. About the one that climbed up on the high chair and ate as high as he could reach?
Well, I took probably me and
Thank
Cleo
you.
Toots either one. I know one time I ate about a half pound of butter, maybe more, and Sis got sick. And they thought Sis got the butter, and
She got punished for eating the butter.
I remember some of the tales that was told. Well, they were the truth, but Daddy had a patch of tobacco, and Uncle Keno, he hauled coal all the time, and his horses had give out on him or something, so he comes to the tobacco patch that day and says, "Joe, can I borrow your horses?" Daddy told him no. Well, Keno just promptly left. And Granddad turned and told Dad, says, "Why in the world didn't you tell him you could have them horses?" They thought if he'd pleased him, he'd stayed there and helped him work, see? Well, that's about the way it
He
went.
go over the hill and cut his fire down, and I already had mine cut out. We had to go help him get his in there after he got mine.
Where was that?
After I'm married, I had it back over on the dad's place.
It was over here.
Yeah.
That was before you had any
One
control
time,
of it?
Shultz and Keno was supposed to have been talking tobacco, and they went down the road and left out the back end, the lower end of it.
Got down and crawled out.
Well, they crawled down on the hands and knees,
Yeah.
kept folks
Look
in
at
there.
that more, he's out, he's up, he's up.
Another thing that Dad said that, when Granddad told him, he said, "Why in the world didn't you tell him you could have them
What are
horses?"
you making, Annie?
Daddy says, "I wasn't going to let him take my horses and balk them all up."
The old wagons, in the summertime, get dry, and the tar get dry all the time. So he backed the wagon out the pond, and the mud settled around them wheels, you know, and it's pretty hard to start to pull it out of it with the mud about that deep. And he went down the horses, backed them in there, and used them to it, got up on the wagon, and went up with full mud, a seesaw. And I don't know, I said, I got to go down and drive a wagon out. So I got hold of them horses, kind of hit hard at them, pull the lines up tight, got them together, and they brought that wagon right on out.
You didn't know how to handle the horses like you did, huh?
You know what? Got them black horses, what I had, after married, and he was hauling coal with them. Stanley Curtin, he was hauling with Phelps team. He said, Stanley Curtin told him he's hauling for false scenario by Curtin or something. He told him, said, "He don't really haul as big loads when he got your horses." Now, I'm afraid he didn't know how to drive a team much. Afraid he'd get some horses all messed up so they wouldn't pull. That's the reason why I told him he couldn't have them.
Was he 14, 15 years old? Or
Phil, well, I've been married a couple of years.
how much younger is he than you?
He's the same age as mine.
Oh, yeah.
Shultz is the same age.
Oh,
Keno now. Same
Well, you
age.
were married, you were about 24 then.
Yeah,
So he was about 18 then.
Shultz was born January 4, I was born March.
I'm saying it's Keno.
So Keno is the youngest.
Tracy's the
No,
youngest
Tracy.
one.
Shultz is youngest, Keno's youngest. Shultz.
So, Aunt Rosie, Uncle Booster, then Daddy? No.
Uh-uh.
Uncle Booster,
me.
Daddy,
Daddy
Yeah.
is never Rosie.
Tootsie, Keno.
3.
We got to break off now.
Yeah.
Mary Rose thought she was 90
Did she?
before she died. She thought she was 90 years old.
Really? Yeah, she's one day, we was talking to her, she says, "Well, I'm doing pretty good for 90.
Oh,
No.
Well, didn't Granddad live to be 93? Aunt Mary lived to be 93.
93, and Uncle Charlie.
Uncle Charlie did too.
Ninety.
No
I
wonder
was
Rosie,
thinking.
The
no
three
wonder
of
Rosie
them.
thought she was 90.
And I told Joe that's how long he's gonna live.
Oh,
Get Daddy to him.
long time.
Daddy? Daddy, tell us a little bit about Uncle Charlie.
Oh, you don't know anything about Uncle Charlie?
Oh, he does too.
Oh, you don't either?
Oh, Charlie was around.
Well, I'll tell you the bad things about it. You all want to hear that.
Yeah, we do.
He, they sold wood,
He's just around.
and Uncle Charlie took a load of wood for to sell it. He hitched the horses on the street after he sold his wood, got on a boat and went below, got the job on his boat.
Left the horse.
They went looking for the horses, the police stopped the horses, put them in a livery stable. They had to pay a livery stable bill before they get the horses.
Didn't know
They were
where
too
Charlie.
after that.
Didn't know what happened to Charlie.
No, well, I have.
Again, you're coming for a good while, didn't
No, it was maybe a week.
Did he,
I didn't hear from him, maybe a month or two.
when I start to say, did he come back here and ultimately go in the Tennessee area, or did he
Oh, he's down around Henderson.
He lived in Henderson for a while.
live in Henderson a while?
He run a store down in Henderson a long time, and that's after he married. He got in with some guy making counterfeit money.
He's crooked.
He's smart.
Now, you don't want to know, do you?
He spent 2 years of paying for that. That's after he married.
When we come back on,
See what
His
that
daddy's
is,
brother.
right, Charles, one of the
Businessman.
today's paper.
oh, I never had,
I didn't know
I
that
never
either.
had heard he spent any time.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, did
back business is, I never did hear none of the,
After he got out of the pen, did he straighten up?
Yeah, he straightened
To
up.
some extent.
And he run a beer place called Calhoun.
Now Calhoun or Henderson.
Henderson, I mean. And he had an old mule there, hauled his beer with, old mule that's laid out on, so he come up here to the Pep, that's where Pep married. And got one of their horses and brought the old mule up here, turned him out faster and took the horse down there.
Pap was still living with your mom and dad.
No, he wasn't married.
But he still lived with your mom and dad.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Jealous of Granddad because he got,
You say that's right, he
When,
took Pat.
uh,
He took,
George Rudy told Pap, says, before they were folks get too old, said, you have to make a will so you get that stuff. Said, they know who Charlie was, you know. And says, you won't get it today. And so they made a will, and after her grandmother died, and willed it all to Pap. This, of course, didn't have very much. It's about 25 or 30 acres of ground and whole house. And so Uncle Charlie wanted Pap, my granddad, to come down and stay at them. And after Mom and them married.
very sick then, wasn't he?
And so he went down there, and the old man died down there. And come to find out, while he's down there, he had him to make all this stuff out to him. But of course, it didn't stand up in court because he already had to bring out the Pap.
Well, see, that showed what he intended to do.
But he only came around when the old man was almost dead, and then he just literally took him with him home without Granddad's permission.
Were there only two brothers in the family?
Hmm?
Only two brothers in the family?
Yeah, and
Charlie and
Aunt
Frank.
Mary, I don't know what to give her, but she married Uncle George, just drank all the time.
Well, two, Charlie and Frank.
He had,
And
They-
Mary.
the,
Uncle George.
his daddy, his daddy left them, he had there's two of them keepers. Uncle George and John Keeper, they're brothers. And when their daddy died, well, or mother or whoever, they went and sold the farm, the big farm, and bought a little old farm down next to Stanley. And them two men stayed drunk all the time. They'd have an old horse on a buggy, and Stanley was gone 2 miles from where we lived. And they'd keep that little old horse. Aunt Mary let that horse drive up and down the side of the road. And they wouldn't let her take her out of that buggy all day. When they'd get all the whiskey, they'd go stand and get more whiskey. And his brother died from drinking so much whiskey. And it kind of woke Uncle George up, and he kind of laid off the whiskey for a while. Quit drinking, well, he didn't quit, but
Now, who were those two guys? What relationship were they?
Aunt Mary's
Aunt Mary
uncle
was-
got married.
Aunt Mary was half sister.
her husband and her brother-in-law.
Husband's brother.
Yeah, but you said Aunt Mary was Pap's sister, but I asked you earlier if Pap had, Pap and Uncle Charlie were brothers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's
So
one
there was
brother.
three girls?
Yeah. No,
Three
no,
people.
There was
right.
three of them.
Okay.
They
Aunt
all
Mary
died
came.
when they were 93.
Brenda, don't you remember Aunt Mary came here, come to see us?
No, she came over Rose's.
Well, she walked over to our house.
Now, Grammy had Aunt Mary and
Right.
Aunt Julie and Uncle Henry. Is that all the brothers and sisters she
Uncle
had?
Nick.
Uncle Nick.
Uncle Nick wasn't her,
Well,
his Aunt Julie's husband.
it was Uncle Johnny and Uncle Dick. My mom said two brothers.
And they were Johnny and Dick.
Mhm.
And then Aunt Julie and Aunt Mary.
Yeah, and Aunt Mag,
Oh, Aunt Meg, that's right, Aunt
Aunt
Meg.
Mary, this Aunt Mary Miller too, she was a mama's sister.
All right, so you had two Aunt Marys, your
Okay.
daddy's sister
So-
and your mama's sister,
So Grammy had Mary,
Meg
Meg, Julie,
Julie.
and Sis,
and what was Aunt Sis's name?
Fanny,
Fanny,
Fanny. And then the two brothers,
Johnny,
Johnny and
Johnny.
Shebel.
Johnny and.
So we had
Dick,
and
Richard.
Johnny and Dick.
And
Okay.
Richard probably, right?
Well,
It's
it's
probably
Richard.
Richard, yeah.
Call him Dick.
Okay.
Aunt Mary Keefner, she burned to death, didn't she? She backed up against the heater with her flannel gown
She
And
lived
it caught on
about a
fire.
week or something like
I
that.
remember going
Well,
to
she
her
was
funeral
93 when that happened?
when they buried her.
Well, she wasn't ready to die then. I mean, the others, you know,
Y'all know nuts was dead.
yeah.
But anyway,
I guess she's ready.
we thought we'd go see Uncle Charlie. He lived in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Right, I
He
don't know.
run a store over there too, but he done quit the store. And,
Seemed like we heard he was sick, didn't we?
yeah,
Mike and Catherine
his-
and you.
his sister,
Did you?
I mean his daughter,
Me next
told us he was sick. And we fooled around there and didn't go for a few days, maybe a week
What
after.
age were we?
Got over there and he was bearded. Brought to Henderson and beard, where his wife was beard.
Nothing, didn't tell us.
We didn't even know what about her. We went down to his funeral.
And y'all went all the way to
We went all the way
Knoxville.
to Knoxville.
Went all the way to
see him,
Knoxville,
and
and
they
about
didn't bury him.
2 or 3 days he had done, they didn't bury him. And one, but just a few weeks to Clara, she hadn't been married, but she didn't have no husband then. But she came over here and visited.
Clara was who?
That's his daughter.
Claire,
It's your first
I don't know what
cousin.
her name was. Married
Yeah.
name.
She came over here and visited us, visited over the dad and sis now.
Dated the day
But
that.
anyway,
But Aunt Mary Keithner's daughter did come to see us, and her husband had spent the night with us.
She had little tucks on her white blouse, didn't
I
she?
don't remember.
What was her, what's her name?
Lena.
that's when Aunt Mary
Lena.
died.
That was when Aunt Mary
Lena
died.
what? What was her last name?
I don't know what her name was.
Oh, you know, I think I can remember that. It was hidden in my Milton or something.
What age were we at?
Okay, we both had our bicycles, and we went over to Tracy and Rosie's over home to eat dinner. And then we was riding our bicycles back home, and I turned into the lane, and I skidded in the rocks, and I had on shorts, and I skid the whole side of my leg.
We went
And
to
you
my,
put me in front of the window fan because you knew you couldn't blow on that much area and poured the iodine to me.
And so did we, where did we spend the night?
No, they were
we
on
got
the
back,
day.
it was about 12 o'clock
They went
that
to
night.
Knoxville
One
and
day.
back and
Well,
come
in other
back.
words, you got hurt while they were gone.
Yeah,
That's
we
when they
had been
always
over
got hurt.
Just like whenever I was taking care of
home and to eat lunch because that's just, you know, we go over there to eat. And then we was coming back home.
Racing,
And I,
probably.
yeah, and I turned in and skidded on the rocks.
Put you in front of the fan.
But you know how we always, if we got hurt, we had to go to somebody else to blow on it while you put the iodine on it, or the file on it.
And you look better.
It's my 2-year haircut.
Your 2-year?
It'll get cut again in 2 years.
No, let's not wait
That's
that
how
long.
long it takes for me to afford the haircut.
Okay, we'll take up
Chip
a,
in.
Mother
put
was
it-
good for nothing.
we'll put it back for you today.
It was real funny. The lady was, I said, go ahead and cut it off. And she set them scissors on the back of my neck. She said, are you sure? I said,
Dave,
yeah.
yours looks good.
And she
Did
said,
this for you, Daddy.
to keep the heart shock down on people they do that to, they sweep the hair up before you get off the seat.
So you won't see
So
it.
you won't see, and she pulled out, and I asked her about it, and she pulled out the trash can, and there was a lot of hair in that trash can.
What did it cost you to get a haircut?
$8.
You're supposed to tell them like I do, that they cut them up off of yours, they can make another wig, so they ought to pay you for cutting it.
Yeah, right. Some people do that.
Let's see, I was trying to think of something else we didn't ask that. Mom too, for that matter.
Right, we haven't asked Mother hardly
I don't
anything.
You tell a pretty good tale about moving from Buell to Richland. You told me about it.
Yes, where all did you all live?
She was too little, she can't remember
Oh.
that.
Yes, you can too.
5 years
Where
old.
did you live at Buell?
Oh, I lived right over here.
Titus
Close
truck.
to Edmund Tucker's
Not
place.
Titus,
You know where Edmund Tucker's place is? Where
Wilford,
he bargained Uncle George lived?
Wilford
We lived in
Travis.
that neighborhood. where Wilford Troutman's house is, where it was. And that was the winter of the big snow,
1918.
1718, came before Christmas. And then after the snow melted off, of course, it caused the backwater. And the backwater was so long coming down, we didn't get to move until March. But Dad had bought that place from Paul Johnson down below Richland Church. And we almost had to wait till the water went down completely to move back to the lower lands. And we didn't have to get out on any main roads. And somebody went along in the front with the wagon load of furniture, and in between the wagon with the furniture, we had the cows and the calves and what have you.
Any
Driving them.
Any hogs?
I think he hauled what hogs he had in the wagon.
Okay.
And Mother was in the surrey with what things she
With
could
the fringe
have.
on top.
Well, it had the top, but it didn't have any fringe on it. And Rowan and I were in there the most of the time. Or sometimes I was out walking and driving the cows too. But Catherine Cotillia and John Leslie did a lot of herding the stock in between the wagons. And the main thing that attracted Rowan and I was they had guineas. To that day I had never seen a guinea. And they had them in a coop ready to move for the people that lived there. And they'd say pot rack. And I'd never heard a guinea, or anything say pot rack. And well, now, they didn't have any trouble with us because we stayed right with the chicken coop watching the, listening to
After you got over there.
And of course, Catherine and Cordelia and John Lester was older than Roy Allen and I. And the jobs that was to do, they did them. So we just ran and kicked up our heels.
No wonder you were 5 years old.
I climbed trees with Roy Allen. I mean, even up until Catherine Cordelia married, which I was 11 that spring after they married. I had never had much responsibility, see. Like setting tobacco and things like that. Well, I was included. But until that time, I didn't have much responsibility. When they married and left home, that was just all on me. I had to get on.
She used to take an old mule and double shovel and plow corn.
Wash clothes on the washboard. We didn't have anything else. Well, I believe it was Andy was talking about it, and I said, well, sure, that's my time too. That we washed on the
That's
washboard.
all right, Andy. I remember using the flat iron too. When Mama
Heated on the stove.
Told Doris that he remembered his grandmother using one day.
So y'all made the move in one day. You loaded up
Well, yeah.
one morning.
Did they rent that place down at Buell there? Or did
No,
they
he sold it to Mammy's sister and her husband.
Well, that's what I meant.
Arnie thinks Susie bought it.
He actually owned that and sold it.
Uh-huh. Before he bought this, he had gone, looked at a place in Muhlenberg County. Thought sure we was going to move over there, and we just keep saying Muhlenberg. That just sounds so awful,
You don't
And
know where it was?
no, I never did go to see it, of course.
Probably
kid
around
like
Bremen.
that.
Yeah, probably Bremen.
Dad almost bought a place in
Buttermilk
Muhlenberg
Road.
County. He got that one up there instead.
Well, this place where we moved out here, it was in a pair for 2 or 3 years before we bought it. I know the first time these Epsons used to live there in Owensboro, and one of these Epsons married a Fraser, and this woman lived in a house right behind us. When we lived over in Davis County, she'd come over to Mama's and help take care of me when I was just a baby. This woman married this Epson, and the other woman married a Fraser, George Fraser. And the Frasers was out in here, and the Epsons found out through the Frasers about this little old coal mine down here, and helped hold these Epsons. And he saw us when I'm over around Owensboro there somewhere, the old man or this young man, one told him about this 200-acre farm out here being for sale. And Mom was wanting to get away from over because we lived right down in that coal mine settlement.
Slept in.
And they was
Shanty
pretty
town.
tough bunch around that coal mine, them people.
You boys coming on.
and the kids all coming on. And so Kurz is over there, my cousin, they had a car. We didn't have no car then. Of course, we'd had a car before that, but we done got rid of it. But one Sunday, me and Pat and Booster went over there, and they brought us out here, and we went clear to Livermore, didn't know where the place was, and didn't even find it. And so in the meantime, Pep saw somebody that knew about the place, and they told him he's supposed to turn off at Knuckles and come through there. So Booster and Pep, one Sunday morning, they got up and saw this and rode this old horse what I had, old Dolly, in the buggy. And they just want to come out here and see if they couldn't find a place. So they stopped over, turned at Knuckles, and old Mr. Jarvis over here, that's Chunky's granddaddy, was burning stumps right along there on where Chunky lives, you know, right along the road there. He told them, and some way or other they got it mixed up. He told them to turn left, church up here, but they turned the left and there and went through where Ed Hudson lived and through the old lane there, my place, and up there. And Pep told Booster when he was going through that road, it was really washed out there, said, this thing is 10 miles from here. I said, I don't want nothing to do with it. So he went for him to go on down and turn the other place. He don't come around William C's in there.
But you found the place.
Yeah, and they turned and come down, after they got there at Earl's, they turned and come down the hill there, and the little old house here at the foot of the hill here, where you turn and come over here, right down here where the Brad's got the hay and stuff, and Epson lived there in that house. And but in the meantime, there's a coal mine running on where I live. And right before they got down there, where you turn up to my house on that old road, well, they saw some bank mules there in the lot. And Pep said, well, I know this must be the place. So they went on down there and drove on past Roy Epson's house there. So they stopped then. Pep went back to see. I think they left really early. It wasn't about 8 or 9 o'clock when they got out there, and Roy was just getting up. So they showed them all around the place, and found out that Pep really liked the place and everything, but they didn't. These people lived in the house up here. Well, they was kind of snickety. They never did go in the house or nothing. And so they told him, said Snyder lives on right there by the park there in Orangeburg, old man that owned the place. And he told him what his name was and everything. And so they got his number, telephone number, so Pep called him up and talked to him. And they had a car, and I don't know what, about a week after that, they got him, put him in a car and brought him out here and showed him through the house and everything, you know. And then they come us trying to buy the place, trying to get ours for sale. And they got the real estate man, Gerard Leslie, the real estate man in on it trying to get it sold. And the Magliners bought part of it there where the house where we lived. And they had a house in Orangeburg and he wanted to sell that house. So old man Snyder and the real estate man got together, and Snyder took the house on 5th Street that they owned, the Magliners owned Orangeburg on it, and Laswell, 80 acres of it, left down side of the road there and didn't have, well, it had a barn and silo on it, all it had on it, and the real estate man bought that. And so that's the way we got started out here. And we got all about the middle of summer before we got it ready to go. And then that fall we got ready to move the potatoes out here first. Well, in the meantime, this Turner up here had about 10 acres of tobacco on the place. And they just built that new barn down there that summer. And had the old barn, old log barn up there too then. And wasn't no stripping room down there. They had a silo on the place. It was all ragtag about ready to fall down. So we come out here. In the meantime, we went in summer, took off a load of hogs and bought a Ford Model D car, brand new. And the hogs paid for that car. And so me and Pap, he was hauling coal over all the time with the team. And me and Pap, we'd come back and forth out here and pulled that silo down and got a wire stretcher and hooked onto it, hooked on one of the guy wires, pulled it down, build a stripping room down there, all the silo lumber. And thought to do that, get Turner's to get moved away from our town. But meantime, Turner's was going to move up here above Livy, and a fellow was smoking meat in a meat house up there and burnt their house down where they was going to move. And they didn't have no place to move. Pap kind of felt sorry for them. And what is this? In February, before we got to move from over at and that old house over at William C., we like to throw it really cold winter. We like to froze to death over that old house. Just have grates in there, you know.
That was the house that William C. lived in until he built his.
Tore it down and built that.
I've been in that old house.
So on the backside there was 2 up off the floor, wasn't no under pin on it, and the wind just swooped right underneath of it.
Well, now Tracy was already born, all the children were born.
Yeah, Tracy's about 4 or 5 years old, moved out here.
So y'all had your stock over there at that place or over here?
Well, see, we sold about all the stock. And that place we had across the road there was a barn on it, what Dazzle bought, and had a wheat that year, and had a thrash of wheat, and had an old silo cutter, and he brought a bunch of fodder a year or 2 before that in that part of that barn, and them horses picked away so they could get in there and eat that fodder and eat that straw, and turn them into stalk field. We had 2 cows and a steer and a bull, all we kept to bring out here. And then after we moved over here, over there, Bush went over a day or 2 pounds from the move and got 1 team in the wagon. And then we went back over then in the wagon, and we had 2 horses and that little old bank mule. Put them up on that 6 acres we had over there and left them there. Grass was going to come in. About 1st of March, there's that bluegrass, and put them up there on pasture, and I rode one of them horses back, and meantime, one of them cows that had a calf, we put that calf in the wagon, and we drove them others, I drove behind the wagon. Of course, that cow followed that calf in the wagon, drove them all the way out here, and the next day, that other cow had a calf, I just drove her about 30 miles.
Brought it on, didn't it?
And
I like us
She was
moving
the
to the
shape
Shultz place, and Brenda was born early because I went up and down the steps so much.
Well, see,
Got 3 weeks early.
well, we able to move out here, well, in December, well, Captain Bush brought a load of stuff out here. They had 2 wagons, and Bush had a big load of corn, and the roads done get bad then. And seemed like they hung up on that hill right over our coast, down there, old William C's are. They finally got out and got out here on that day and went to over the coal mine, and they just happened to have 1 car of coal left over there, so we took that coal over so we'd have a fire, and they stayed all night there then, and unloaded the corn, I believe the next morning, struck out home, and then I think we stayed home 1 day, and the next day we loaded it up. I mean the next day after they got home, we loaded it up on Saturday, and moved out there. There was 3 wagons of it. We got another man over to bring a wagon out with for us, and got out here, and we got that stuff unloaded. It was pretty cloudy that day. We had no more and got in the house and got everything settled, but it rained all night. And and still raining on Sunday morning. That boy was able to go back, take that wagon and go back home. We fixed him a tarpaulin up so he could go back home. And then on Monday morning, then Papa said to take 4 horses. We kept 2 horses out there, and he could take 4 back over there and leave over on that stalk field. And he put 4 in, and it was snowing that morning. And he said he hadn't gone no piece, but the wagon bed done got sick. He said he'd give anything if he had a bucket of ashes to stand on. Couldn't hardly stand up in the wagon, you know, too cold to sit down. And we went to, got on the streetcar run almost down where we lived at, and he turned them horses loose in. Got on the streetcar and went up to Aunt's sister's there and grandma's. And stayed all night there then, and caught the train the next day home.
Well, where all of you all were born, except Ruth then over the Buell area. Mama's family.
Oldest was born in a log house, kept Roy Allen Road.
And the rabbits, we didn't have nothing for to do, and the rabbits was thick. And me and Bush had a shotgun, of course, I just went along with him, and we had a pretty good little old rabbit dog, and we'd sell them for 15 cents a piece. This all you do is take the guts out of them, and they shipped them. Take them to Knuckles, and a guy, he shipped them to different places, they just bone them up in a bone and ship them.
Yeah.
And give 15 cents a piece for them, just with the guts out.
Today, how old were you now when you moved here?
15, 14.
14 in December. They moved, and he was 15 of February.
So how many do you remember ever taking over to sell?
Rabbits?
Yeah.
Oh, it takes 5 or 6, maybe more than that.
Oh, I thought
Get $1 worth?
Huh?
Get $1 worth?
Yeah.
And he never did lose his eye that I know of, or seen him setting either. He can still do that.
I insist.
But he don't like them.
I
Never would eat them.
My
Well, did the family?
Like the rabbits, we'd send them, we could mail them on them in the mail to her.
Mail her a rabbit.
Now that was taking ruin.
Did the family eat them?
Oh, 0 weather.
Well, you can take this kind of weather right here.
like me,
On
deer, you know.
Old Orangeburg would have a big string of them hanging out on, on the porches,
And
when it's over.
if they skinned them, they'd have to leave one foot on, didn't they?
Well,
Tail.
They don't want to.
Yeah, skin on 'em.
Well, Granddaddy told me that he'd take them to town and sell them, but your daddy, but he had to leave 1 foot to keep
They
himself,
take
to make sure it wasn't a cat.
I'd heard that one too.
We got
But once you
quit.
gut that and let it dry out,
Yeah.
that rabbit will keep for days unless it gets up in the
I wonder where my paper went.
above 60 for a
Mom,
couple
don't
of
go.
days, something like that,
Well, honey,
Them little
I heard
stores
Mama
I was
talking
talking
about
about, you just
putting
gotta have a
it
half a hog.
Troutman
hanging
area,
outside.
Titus Troutman area.
Just where it's been cut out
Every
the
time
back.
I saw Titus
Every
Troutman, he'd
Yeah.
say, I used to
From
court
the store.
your grandmother every
Well,
time.
we gotta go home.
Well, listen, why don't you just stay and we'll snack here and let Dad go to the workshop and come back and we'll just keep on discussing.
Keep on getting
Brad's
on.
got
Doris
calf out
and
here.
Jerry needs to
Well,
get
Maybe he's dead by now. Maybe he won't have to be fed no more.
That's not good.
Well, Mama didn't say
Why?
not that. Your first car.
So don't have to worry about it.
When you saw your first car.
I'm tired of fooling.
Well, when I walked Penny out.
You're
at any of these old equipment places or
Well,
anything.
they used to have one right up here above the bowling green, put them over on place there. Where's that place we went, Mama, first? Yeah. No, what was it last?
Albany.
Can you wear your long collar shirt too?
Them guys that worked up in Horsham.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cave City.
Yeah, they have an old mobile tractor in it, on a display in the building there.
What Brenda wanted me to talk about was when Grandmother King used to come to see us. And of course, the first thing we would want her to tell her stories of things happened when she's a girl. And the one thing that was outstanding for me was they had sheep and they had a bell on them or something, so they kind of keep up with them.
where was this that you lived?
Way out in the country somewhere.
But in this area?
In this area. And she was to go drive the sheep in. And somehow or other they'd strayed farther than usual. She just walked and walked and began to get dark and she hadn't found the sheep. So she knew she couldn't